Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tea Time. Tea, and also time. What have you got there?
Japanese green tea, unsweetened.
Nice. It's legit tea. See, I was thinking that you were going to the route of drink, beverage, just grab whatever, but that's like legit tea. It's fantastic.
I already had coffee, so it's between green tea and chocolate milk. And for the green tea.
It was a good choice. Yeah. And very appropriate. I appreciate it. We're here this wonderful evening to talk about, in a large sense, constructive, destructive criticism, positivity, negativity, and the different things about that. And that kind of all started with the life match fixing incident. Mm-hmm. And I think your turn of phrase that you like to use is shitting the bed.
Yeah.
And there was a copious amount of bed shitting after that event.
We can still smell it.
Yeah, it's quite awful. So this is a closed-in space. It seeps out of the Reddit, comes into the room. It's quite awful.
The Starcraft community is pretty niche, so we have to open the windows just to kind of air things out. Life. The drama. One of our beloved Starcraft players. One of my favorite to watch, definitely.
Yeah.
And whenever you have a hero in the scene, you really want them to be not only a good Starcraft player, but a great human being as well.
I think even sometimes subconsciously and emotionally, you assume that they are. In a lot of you assume that they're not human to some point. Mm-hmm. And for me, finding out personally, because like Life has been my favorite player since I've seen, like the first time he ever played, I was like, oh my god, this is so awesome. What does he do with the Zergling? It's like nuts. And like hearing that happening, seeing that on Reddit, I was just like, not Life. Like anyone but Life. Please, why Life? Mm-hmm. It was really unfortunate.
Yeah, so it makes sense that the community is going to be upset. Like that's not surprising. And we should be kind of upset because when you hold someone up really high as like a champion, you want them to do well and to be successful in life and not to have their reputation tarnished by something like this. So kind of thinking about this progression, people ask a lot about, has he just been arrested? Is he being investigated? Is it likely he'll be convicted? There have been other cases in the past of pro gamers who were convicted, like Savior, and then cases where they were not convicted and found innocent, in the case of Jaedong and Flash, where they may be brought in, they're questioned, but they're not convicted and found guilty. So in this case, we kind of have to wait and see how things pan out. We can't assume 100% either way. Based on the Korean judicial system, it seems like they already have a lot of momentum going. It takes a warrant to be able to arrest someone. You can't just arrest them for no reason.
Well, that's good, you know. Starting off, can't just arrest people for no reason.
Fortunately. Thank you, rule of law.
Thank you. South Korea, very important.
Yeah, but the important thing to remember too is Life's a young person, and he's been thrust into a very huge spot on kind of the esports frontier. Mm-hmm. He's made tons of money as a player, and his success happened at a very young age. You think about coming into adulthood. When you come into adulthood, you kind of realize the global stage, how things are working, how money works. What is money? Where does it go? What should I do with it? And those sorts of questions, and how it takes a while to figure that stuff out, and some people never really do. So we can't really expect Life to be the best StarCraft player in the world, the most wise person in terms
the most wise, like, especially when he came out with his first run, he's like 14 years old, you know what I mean? Just thinking about personally what it would be like if I was a 14-year-old and I would all of a sudden get tons of money, like...
And a literal god.
Yeah. And like, and the fame too. I mean, you see that a lot with like, you know, child actors and things like that. They have struggles dealing with that sort of the spotlight on them and the money and the fame and things like that.
Yeah, and also considering the pressures that were placed on him from, say, the match fixers who are like communicating with him. So you have interest groups who want these players to perform in certain ways so that they can make a lot of money. They're going to be incentivizing them with money, but also just with the social pressure of, you should do this for us because we want to help you in some ways. And how there are a lot of basic human cognitive biases of, all right, this person seems like they're promising me that they'll give me a lot of money, we won't get caught and things will be fine. And how evaluating risk is a really complex thing to do for the brain. And it's very difficult to say whether you can get away with a given tactic or not. And one of the things that Steven Pinker brings up in his book on violence is young men especially are going to be rating present gain at a much higher premium than a risk of future loss.
That's interesting, because I was thinking just from a cultural perspective, and I know that life is in the Korean culture and it's slightly different than ours. Thinking about, generally speaking, that's kind of the habit for young men in American culture. So it's cool to see that that's even a human being thing and not just a cultural American thing.
Yep. With this drama coming out, a lot of people have responded with very hopeful comments, like, I really hope this isn't the case. I want him to be found innocent. This would really shatter my view of Korean esports. What if everyone is match fixing and it's all a scam? The foreign scene is the only place with real Starcraft now. Like, you get very extreme comments. Some of them...
Well, it's actually all a conspiracy. The reason why Korean Starcraft is so good is just this conspiracy where they build up legends within their scenes. It's like, oh, they're so good. It's like, no, they con everyone. It's a giant system in which everyone match fixes. That's what's actually going on in Starcraft.
But their mechanics are good.
Yeah. You gotta have at least good mechanics.
Yeah. So, Katz is someone who's been a leader in the community for a long time. He's kind of like someone who has been around since the beginning. He is well-spoken. He kind of sees the bigger picture. He's an organizer of events. He leads a team, and he kind of tries to see what the community is doing and make commentary on our talk, like how we're communicating with each other. And a lot of times we'll kind of try and see the worst in what's happening in a way that doesn't actually lead into anything useful. So you have negativity that's destructive, that doesn't add anything for anyone. It's just kind of a way to feel like you're doing well and the system is crumbling. And you get to watch it crumble, and that's kind of an ethic thing, like, the game is dying! But is this really the case? Is StarCraft really dying? Or is it RTS? And is RTS pretty stressful? It's a niche genre that's now competing with MOBA games and CSGO and other esports that have risen up to take some percentage of that population that we had in Wings of Liberty. And Katz has seen all of this happen. He's been an active participant in the scene. I'm a little bit newer than this. So for him to kind of give his thoughts on how StarCraft has progressed, for one, as a game, from Wings of Liberty to Heart of the Swarm to Legacy of the Void, and for him to enjoy Legacy of the Void more than both of the previous versions is a pretty big deal. And for him to kind of see that and enjoy the game and continue to stream, keep doing StarCraft stuff, is pretty inspiring and it's pretty cool. And in his highlight, you can see his frustration because he's excited and he sees over here, like, some drama, sure, there's some drama, and people totally shitting the bed. Yeah. Like, through the bed, through the floor, and the neighbors downstairs are like, what? How did this happen? He wants to see the scene not just grow, but be happy. Like, to see the individuals in the scene grow. Because really, that's the thing that we can take out of the StarCraft scene, is treating each other well, teaching each other, edifying each other, coaching each other, encouraging each other, so that when we go out in the world, people are like, damn, you seem like a sharp individual. Like, what do you do for fun? Oh, I play StarCraft. It's like a super crazy real-time strategy game. And they're like, oh, that's awesome. Like, maybe tell me about that, rather than, PC Master Race, you all noobs, Legends players, And you become like the bitter elitist gamer who will never, like, fraternize with the plebs who play the easy games.
Yeah, and I think that as RTS players coming from Brood War, some of us coming from Warcraft 3, or a few of us coming from Command & Conquer, I think we have a history of being elitists to some extent. And even we are meta-elitists in that we're elitist within our own genre. It's like, oh, there are actual Brood War elitists, they're elite about Brood War, and then there are the RTS elitists, and then exist without them the rest of the gaming genre and, you know, casual awfulness. But it creates that sort of elitism, and I think we've improved a lot as a community over the past, you know, 5 or so years on that sort of feeling. And this is, I think, one of those moments where we have the opportunity to become better as a community, and to do that through sort of understanding. But there's sort of this anti-self-promotion kind of feeling going on. If someone comes in, they're doing a new thing, they're like, hey, I'm doing this new thing. They'll get upvoted because it's new and it's novel. They come back the next day, and they're like, hey, still working at it, hope you check out my stream. Now it's spam. Now it's a problem. Now it's like explosions going off everywhere. And even like in Katz's post, he was like referring to in the beginning, oh, I have this tournament that's going on. And he preempted the response of, oh yeah, you guys are gonna say that I'm, you know, self-promoting, I'm just doing this for my own benefit. And I thought at that moment in time, who cares? Yeah, sure, he's doing it for his own benefit. But guess what? It's for your benefit too. It's for my benefit. It's for your benefit. It's an awesome, huge Starcraft tournament. Like, we should be happy about that. Not like, well, he is promoting himself. Ugh. Egotism.
Negativity, understanding how to identify things that are wrong and things that should be changed is fantastic.
Yeah.
You should do that. Like, you're almost obliged to do that. If something presents itself and you see a crucial flaw in that, pointing that out is totally valid. So a lot of people responding to Cats are kind of defending their right to criticize things and to be negative about stuff. And there is some truth to that, but the main point that Cats was reiterating in his highlight was try and balance it out with some positivity as well. Like, if you're going to give some critiques and stuff, lead into some ways you can build up the community at the same time. It doesn't take that much extra effort, and it really kind of changes the tone of how people are speaking to each other in the StarCraft community.
I think too, sometimes it even goes beyond just, okay, say a good thing, say a bad thing. They've canceled each other out. I'm okay. You know, I think for me, a lot of it is about sort of the main topic that I want to talk about, which is the idea of constructive criticism versus destructive criticism. And it's not that constructive criticism is positive. A lot of times it's negative. You could be like, hey, guess what? You didn't set up your camera right, and Neuro is a little bit more out of focus than you are. Yeah.
Scoot up.
You might say that about this video, right? And that's fantastic. That's like, oh, okay, that's something that I should have noticed during the time, and I'm gonna take that and log it in. It was a negative-ish thing. It's something that was negative about the video that you pointed out, but it was said in a way that's constructive and useful. And this spills into, yeah, no problem. This spills into talking to Blizzard as well. We had a huge, as huge as Blizzard gets to getting angry, post that Blizzard came out with that was like a follow-up to the community feedback update, which basically said, guys, what the hell? We're being super transparent with all of our stuff. That means it's not gonna come right away. You guys are getting really unreasonable and not contributing. You're being really destructive in your criticism. You're being like, why don't we have ladder changes yet? We should have them. You said that we would have them at season 1. No, that never happened.
The perfect RTS in the world, and I want it now. Why didn't they give it to us?
That was rude.
This was supposed to be here by now.
It's supposed to be. It's been almost 3 months.
That's time. Time waits for no one. So, Destiny Thorin are two of the most well-spoken individuals in esports in terms of their mastery of the English language. So when they speak, people tend to kind of find their thoughts compelling or interesting in some way. But just because someone is well-spoken doesn't mean they're necessarily correct, and it doesn't mean that they're the best communicator they can possibly be. So for both of them, they have different communicating styles. Thorin tends to be more long-winded and verbose. He'll set up a series of premises and then have a long argument, and then he wants his opponent or whoever's speaking with him to present their counter after that, and he'll give them plenty of time. Sort of like his format of YouTube videos versus Destiny's format of being on talk shows and streaming. So when they engage with each other, they clash in big ways. They insult each other. They kind of want to be the winner of the argument, where I would cite Day9's video on when you're in a conversation with someone, rather than try and beat them and achieve a victory condition and be like, I'm better than you, I beat you in this debate. Dig for the truth together. Like, think about the truth is being out there, and you have someone as a resource. They can present some knowledge, you can present some knowledge, you compare it, and you move forward together as like a mutually beneficial exchange, rather than like a win-loss condition of, oh, I lost the debate, he totally owned me, like he's a great debater. No, like you work together. And if you speak with someone who has a lot of knowledge, think about that as a productive experience rather than a dick measuring contest.
Well, you know, literal and figurative dick measuring contests, Destiny involved.
There were tweets about that.
There were actual tweets. We are here in the Starcraft community. Have literal dick measuring contests.
Yep. So one of the things that I wanted to emphasize with the Thorin Destiny debacle, if we could call it that, is thinking about communication as a skill that you can increase and they can increase. And how even as good communicators, you can be better communicators, more effective, more respectful, more professional and mature even.
You could even say that mastery is like a path.
With trees and brambles and roots that you could trip on, so be careful.
Yeah.
And bugs and poison oak.
So Red Eye also had a post, and it wasn't really connected with the life match fixing drama, but it was on the concept of casters and personalities and people in the scene and listening to the community feedback and the idea of the feedback. And he basically said, in a very sort of Red Eye way, don't listen to the community feedback. Talk to other casters, other people who do what you want to do, but do it better. Talk to them, get feedback from them. But you should pretty much ignore the community, because all the criticism that they give is almost raw emotion. And I said, I don't want this to be the case. I would love for the community to be more constructive, but it just currently is the case. And it was interesting seeing the responses to that article and then the responses to the Cats article and seeing them being very much the same, where it's sort of, hey, if we never criticize anything, we'll never improve. It's like, you're right. Criticism does not equal negativity. And I think that's probably the most important thing that I want to talk about is what's destructive criticism? How do we move from giving a lot of destructive criticism and move that into more of a constructive criticism? How that's different from positivity and negativity.
One of the most important things for people to identify in criticism is ad hominem attacks. Ad hominem means to the man. When a given person is existing, presenting themselves, presenting an argument, often they will attack the person. They will say, you're a shitty person. You're annoying to me. I don't like your face. This and that. They'll...
relevant things.
Yeah. Basically, appreciating what a person does, thinking about that like a product. And when you're giving criticism, rather than attacking the maker of the product and beating them over the head with a club, say, what is your product? What does your product intend to do? If you're a caster, your product is casting, and you're considering how that casting implementation can be improved. So you would think about the pieces of that product. Think about maybe this element, this angle could be made better. It's constructive to say that this aspect of your casting is repetitive and to point that out to them because they could potentially change that. You're an idiot is the ad hominem version of maybe they feel this way. Maybe they feel like this repetitive comment is annoying to them.
Yeah.
But hurdling the insult doesn't help them. In receiving that type of criticism, sometimes you receive an insult with some constructive criticism. And as the recipient, that's pretty difficult to take, but it's useful to kind of be able to acknowledge, all right, you insulted me, but this over here is pretty good.
Yeah.
So I will consider this. And oftentimes you read the insult first, and then you're like, all right, I'm done. I'm not going to read the rest of this comment. So as a giver of criticism, remember the human element. Remember the person who you are providing criticism toward has feelings and emotions too.
Yeah.
And even if they seem like pretty professional and resolute, maybe they could take it or whatever. Like, do you really need to insult them? Could you just like be chill and be like, all right, I understand you do some hard work. I appreciate that you exist as a human being, and this could be better. Great. Thank you.
And I think that it applies so much to everything. The idea of looking at people instead of a group of attributes, more like instead a group of situations and leading to a result. So I get into work late. You see me get into work late. You say, he's lazy, slept in, he's late. But in me, for my shoes, with all the information, I'm just like, well, I got up on time, I did everything right, but there was this huge traffic problem, and I ended up having my car exploded with me inside it. I had to go to the hospital. I had to get out of there.
And
I had
heard
to
of wildebeest? We're running through the hospital.
I forgot about that part. Yep. Very important. So all these situations happen, and we tend to look at ourselves at a group of situations. So it's like, well, it's not that I'm a bad person, it's just these things happened, and so I was late to work. Whereas oftentimes the habit to look away from the outside perspective is to design an attribute and say, you're stupid. And I think this happens most often in the Starcraft community with Blizzard doesn't care. First of all, we're taking a group of people and making them one person. Second of all,
David Kim.
centered, of course, on, our Lord and Savior, David Kim. And then we say, Blizzard doesn't care. It's like, well, the reason that we don't have our ladder the way that it was announced at Legacy of the Void yet is probably due to a whole bunch of circumstances. Like some new ideas came up and they want to vet them and try them out. Implementation takes a lot of time. There are engine changes and UI changes that happen just so that they can test it to see how it's working. And then finally, they give it to us to test, and it's still not in the game. And they test it out, and maybe they even bring it back.
Wait, you're saying Blizzard does not have unlimited resources?
Well, Neuro, that's another thing that I want to talk about today, and there's a myth going around that I need to bust.
Uh-oh.
Starcraft is developed by more than 2 people in a closet.
Wow.
Yeah. And while there aren't unlimited resources for Starcraft, there are a significant number of resources. When I visited Blizzard, there were 69 resources, which was a convenient number, easy to remember.
Nobody moved.
The idea of understanding particular logical fallacies, like ad hominem attacks or arguments from authority where they don't apply, or I think the idea of talking about people as attributes instead of situations is called attribution error, but I'm not 100% sure. But exploring those areas will, I think, help us to be more constructive, but in a less effort kind of a way, because that takes a lot of effort.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Nobody. Just sitting down before you type out whatever you're going to say and imagining it in a very sincere way, fully imagining it from the other point of view. As if you're sitting down and you're receiving this criticism. How would you react? Would your ego be bruised if someone attacked you and then said, "You don't care about the game"? A game that you've been working on for 5 years and spend countless hours like pouring everything you have into it. How would that feel? And sort of in the same thing, Katz comes on. He does this really heartfelt post and says, "Hey, I think I have an opportunity here. We can be more constructive with our criticism, we can be better. And then, you're stupid. And other very useful emotional responses that there's basically no space between the last letter pressed and then the enter key. Mm-hmm. The distance there is quite small.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the step of thought as being words in your mind, and then considering which of those is worth presenting to other people. Thinking before you speak, thinking before you press the enter key when you write things, maybe giving it a second pass. There's so much information on the internet. At this stage, rather than having lots and lots of noise, if we just take a few more moments, it really enhances the quality of what you can potentially put out. Whether it's Twitch chat, whether it's Reddit, whatever forum or medium you're expressing yourself, just bearing in mind the fact that there are so many people expressing themselves. If you filter your own message and just make it that much more crisp, efficient, effective, respectful, then people are going to gain more from it. And it's less of a garbage in their own cognition.
And I think the last sort of link up is that it's good for you. It's this idea of you're actually doing this for you. You're doing this change and being constructive because you want Cats to understand what you're talking about and have an intelligent conversation with him, because that would be freaking cool. And maybe something good would come out of it. You want Blizzard to give you these ladder changes. You want to be maybe less stressed out about the ladder changes. If you approach the conversation from like thinking about the other person's perspective, more is going to come out of that. Lelouch, I love him to death. He's a really, really smart guy. He has all these ideas about the different things of the depth of micro. He made that video a long time ago. But the way he presented it was, Brood War did this, and it was good. Starcraft 2 does this, and it's bad. And Blizzard, after repeatedly expressing, we're trying to make Starcraft 2 clearly distinguished from Brood War. No, you're basically presenting, if you present that Brood War is good, Starcraft 2 is bad, first of all, you're trashing their work. That's going to hurt any sort of egos that are there. And guess what? The people that work at Blizzard are human beings, and they have egos. Even Neuro's got an ego. It's small, but it's there. And then they're not really going to consider the opinion. Whereas through sort of careful planning, I managed to get a couple of the things on Lelouch's list through into the game of StarCraft 2 because I applied the idea of looking at it from Blizzard's point of view and trying to present it in a way where it's sort of like, this is a really cool idea. It would make StarCraft 2 better. This is why.
Use gaming as a tool and do not be used by gaming or blinded by it. So a good thing to bear in mind whenever you're thinking about StarCraft, thinking about the time you spend playing the game and thinking about the game, is how these behaviors translate outside of it in the rest of our lives. And how a lot of times we get consumed with that moment of, this thing happened, I feel very passionately about it, rather than, this thing happened and I do feel passionately about it and I want to express myself, and maybe taking a little bit more effort to express yourself in a better way than you have in the past. And how each day you have opportunities to speak better, to play better, to engage with other people in ways that is more constructive. Do that. Do that. And then moving forward, you'll just be an awesome person. It's not just about, will StarCraft achieve perfection as a game? It's about, how can you use these experiences to be a better human being? So, for those who are not aware of me, I am Neuro, first time guest on Tea Time, and I'm in the CSN house with JaKaTaKtv. As you can see, here.
You're here?
Yes, this is not a mirage or
a really cool green screen.
Yeah.
This would be a really sweet, Wow. He's right here. He's literally, Neuro's right on the side of me, guys.
I'm not a 3D printed clone yet. Basically, my mission in the esports scene is to improve the way people leverage their cognition I studied cognitive science at a university level and then went into online poker full time, which has a vast expanse of literature about improving your mentality over time, not just improving at the game. And there is not really the same level of discourse in esports or online gaming. So being a bridge between that knowledge in cognitive science and in poker and bringing that into Starcraft, I'm playing Zerg games at a GM level, but I'm not at the pro tier yet. Like, I'm playing against them, but I'm not crushing them. So I'll participate in tournaments when I get there. A lot of people ask, like, when can we see you on stage? Starcraft is a hard game, turns out. And I'm trying to get there. Like, I'm getting coaching from people. I'm working hard every day on stream. You can find me at twitch.tv/NeuroStarcraft and Twitter at NeuroZerg. And yeah, I'm really enjoying the path as I've been here. I've had huge success moving up the ladder. Violet's been really awesome, kind of sparring against me with his Protoss and then going over the games and stuff. And you made the tweet yesterday about my posture, the head tilt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, one of the things that I'm trying to expand for gamers is thinking about the training regimen and how that is its own time segment that you can improve the quality of over time. So rather than just log into StarCraft, mass ladder games, hope for the best, try to get promoted or something, thinking about how you can partition your time in ways that make each piece much more effective, and you have a nice balance between exercise and review, and also kind of out of the game, just taking care of your body and your health and your fitness and stuff. So that's something that I've been kind of incrementally improving since being here, especially starting with yoga, having my breakfast outside in the morning, drinking water, plenty of coffee, all that good stuff. Yeah, it's good to have a conversation with you on Tea Time.
Yeah, man. This may work out very well, and we may well be doing it again soon. We'll see. As always, my name is JaKaTaK, and thank you for watching. If you have any ideas for a video you'd like me to do, please leave it with any questions, comments, criticisms, concerns, or anything beginning with letter C in the comment section below, and I'll see you again soon. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tea Time.
I feel like I should have a dramatic entrance though.
Okay. I'll do the welcome to Tea Time, and the people are like, what the fuck is going on? And then you'll enter.
I was hoping.
It was very effective.
Yeah.
GG.
It was for emphasis.
I think that's good. So I think we got pretty rambly toward as things went out. How long have we been recording? 37 minutes?
It begins. Like, warrant the arrest. Should I do that again? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I think you need to move a little bit closer because you're out of focus from the camera. So just move toward the camera. There you go.